You gave my life to me, set me free, set me free. The finest years I ever lived.
Yeah, I think it's that posture that unlocks this whole conversation. Let's face it. Vulnerability comes with a lot of risk, you know. But Vineyard's founder, like the way you spell faith is R-I-S-K, right? So I think it's just another way of leaning into that. Because it is risky. It's
So you're
risky.
saying we can go to a broken person and as if they can help us,
Yeah.
as opposed to just us helping them.
Well, don't you come back from mission trips?
That's crazy talk, dude.
I know it is, but don't you come back from mission trips having received more or,
Oh,
as
yeah,
much or more as you give away?
yeah. It reminds me of him with Nicodemus saying, they're having a conversation. Then he says, "You're supposed to be Israel's teacher."
Yeah.
And now with the Samaritan woman, he's like, "Okay, go get your husband." It's a confrontative.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think the fun thing that I noticed in this conversation is that she kind of actually is better at engaging in Jesus's way than Nicodemus was. Because she actually does the same thing. She's like, he's like later on, from what we're talking about right now, he's like, you've had five husbands. And she's like, I can tell you're a prophet. So she's like, she's kind of doing the same. She's kind of engaging in the same sort of back and forth
It's almost
of
like, "Oh,
like, I'm
okay,
not going
prophet.
to answer your question
Yeah,
exactly.
okay, prophet man."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, someday the Messiah will solve this problem." And he gives her more than he's given anybody so far. It's almost like he can risk telling someone, an outsider, the richer, greater truth than he can certainly risk with Nicodemus, or he can't say this right now in the temple as he's teaching, but he's telling this woman Samaritan, uh, "Yeah, I am the Messiah."
It it's actually like it gives me chills as you're talking about it because yeah, like exactly like he's John the Baptist is like Lamb of God, and to Nicodemus he's like Son of
Snake
Man
on a
lifted
stick.
up, right? He goes like third party, like the Son of Man. But here you have the outsider of outsiders in the cultural day, and she's the one that he reveals who he really is to first. And to me, that is him enacting um, the first shall be last and the last shall be first.
Mhm.
And
You are important enough to get the thing that maybe even his the 12 won't get.
they don't
It's
get it yet.
not
It's
yet.
later on.
It's close to crucifixion when Peter finally says, "You're the Messiah."
Yeah, and
He's
I see echoes of Mary being the first one encountered post resurrection. So um, I see a huge endorsement of femininity, womanhood on the part of Jesus, and a huge undoing of it just in this act of like, hey, I'm gonna let you in on something. I'm him. Um, I see a subversive undoing of their property. You can write them off.
oh yeah, yeah. You're not property. Yeah, in the case of Mary Magdalene, a former prostitute with seven demons, the first one to see the resurrected Christ, first one told, go tell the guys that I'm risen.
Yeah, yeah.
You're the messenger.
Here's the most important message ever. I'm going to give it
Yeah.
to you.
And now he's telling the 5 times divorced Samaritan woman, uh, uh, "I'm the Messiah."
Yeah, the other thing that the I am he made me think of too this morning was just like in the garden, later on at the end of the story, when they come to arrest Jesus, they're like, we're looking for Jesus of Nazareth. And I think it's John's account, if I'm remembering right. Jesus answered it kind of the
It
same
is.
way. I'm he.
Yeah,
But in
and they
that
fall over.
event,
They fall over
yeah, like the
twice.
the naming of the divine name knocks him over, right? So
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
significant thing, like the I'm he.
In her case, symbolically, she ditches her own water jar.
Yeah.
Whole point of coming to get the water, and now apparently she's overflowing with living water, because she's first thing she does is she becomes the woman evangelist. And while Jesus is explaining himself to the 12, why were you talking to her while that's happening? Pretty soon, fairly quickly, the entire Samaritan village is streaming out to the well, and they end up staying with these outcasts, the whole village of outcasts, for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And first big community, apparently.
Yeah.
New church planted in Sychar,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
amongst the Samaritans.
Yeah.
And they're not going to get Jesus into trouble, because the Jews are they don't care, and they probably don't ever even know what happened in this Samaritan village.
Yeah, it's stunningly beautiful when you put it that way. Like, it really is. I want to, but while it's on my mind, I want to bounce back to like the question of why does Jesus ask her to go get her husband? And I want to elaborate a little bit. There's an element, I think, of Jesus. Jesus does invite us, does engage our story to unearth the most painful parts, um, not to shame us, but to heal us, right? So I think, in some small way or a large way, I think that is, you see that on display here with his engagement with her as well. Like, go and get your husband. Because it can't have felt good for her to have been 5 times divorced. And as we know, like, nothing cultivates shame like darkness and hiddenness. And so I think also, along with the other things we've talked about, you see the healing work of Jesus' engaging story
Mm-hmm.
with her. And I love that, like, in my reading of it, I hear no judgment from him. I just hear him naming, like, yeah, you're right to say that. This is the reality of things. I think it's the work of, part of the work of Jesus is to bring the things that are our deepest sources of shame and pain out in a gentle way, and sit with them with us, right?
I would be there to stay right on, just to have you back again, just to touch you once again.